This is problem number 39 from page 256, and we are given a piecewise graph, and we're asked to write the piecewise definition and give the domain and range. Okay, so we see this graph has two pieces, so we're going to set up something kind of like this, f of x equals, and then make room for two pieces. And let's work on the piece on the left first. So we can see this is a piece of a line, and you can tell pretty easily just by looking that it has a slope of 1, and it has a y-intercept of 0. So that looks like the line y equals x. In another problem, it may be more difficult to tell just by looking, but if you have 2 points, you can take the coordinates of the points and use the slope formula and then find the y-intercept and get the equation that way. Okay, so for y equals x, this part here, the f of x equals, that is our y equals. So all we need is the x to complete that piece. And then we need the domain of that piece. So what x values is that piece going through? It's starting at 0 and going to negative infinity, just going to the left, infinitely far. So we can say x is less than or equal to 0. And it's equal because the circle is closed. If it was open, we would not have the equal to on there. And now let's work on the second piece. So this is a horizontal line at a height of 2. So this is the line y equals 2. So we already have f of x equals for our y equals. So all we need is the 2. And then the domain of that piece. So it's starting with x equals 0 and going to infinity, but not including the 0, so we would just say x is greater than 0. So that takes care of the piecewise definition, and now we want the domain and the range. The domain is the set of x values it goes through. So let's look back at the graph. We start at negative infinity, we go to 0, and we go to positive infinity. We've included everything, so the domain is negative infinity to infinity. And if you want, you can write that as all real numbers. And for the range, let's look at the y values that the graph is going through. So for this piece here, we're going through 0 and everything below. So that would be negative infinity to 0, including the 0. And then we have a gap. So we don't want to include the numbers in that gap. Those y values are not part of the range. We'll just put union for or. And then this piece, all the points have the same y value, just the number 2. So we'll just put a 2. And you might even put set braces around the 2, but you don't have to. So we have the piecewise definition, the domain, and the range.